Cyber Reapers. Hello, Cyber Reapers. So, tonight, or today, whenever, wherever you are, I would like to talk about a book. After reading the third book, which is this book I'm talking about today, the third book in this series, I've decided these books are among my favorite books because I am so emotionally invested. It's so good, and the ending of this book has me in misery because the fourth book has not come out yet, and I so want to know what comes next. But for right now, what I can do is I can immerse myself in the fandom online while we all wait for the fourth book, and I can tell you about it, and maybe you will join as well. 'Cause yes, going into this book series, I knew it wasn't completed yet, but I also heard a lot of hype about it. A lot of people love these books, and I get why now. So, yeah, let's see if I can pull you in. And if not, no worries, you can just watch the video for fun. So, as with the previous book, I will do my best to not really give spoilers. I'm just kind of talking vaguely in a way that if you haven't read the first book, no worries. I'm just kind of gonna talk about some of the struggles that the characters go through, but not really naming names and not being, well, I'll name some names, but not being too specific with it, to where it doesn't feel like there's major spoilers, and I feel like you could still read this series without this video really ruining it for you, that kind of a thing. That's what I aim for when I'm talking about books that are beyond the first in a series. So, you can kind of know a little bit of what's coming emotionally, without me ruining that for you. So, let's talk about it. I was so happy that the library had this book available as soon as I finished the second book. This is the third book in the Legendborn Cycle series. And Legendborn by Tracy Deonn is the first book, Bloodmarked is the second book, and Oathbound is the third book. And here's that cover. That cover. I'd seen the cover when I was reading the second book, and I theorized about who this shadowy figure is in the background. But I think it could be one of two characters. It could be kind of viewed as either one of them. But you don't really know that maybe until about literally the final page of this book. So. And this is our main character. I love the character art on the front of the books. They're so cool. So this is Oathbound. And yes, it's a thick book. I love it. So I think it's about 600 pages or so. I didn't really know how thick these books were until I got the physical second book from the library. And then I went, oh, that's why it took so long for me to read the first ebook. The ebook. And yeah, so this is the book. This is the book we're talking about today. And I'll have to figure out a way to satiate my growing well of emotions from finishing this book. Yeah. So let's talk about it so that I feel a little better. I've sold like a piece of my soul to this book series. And that becomes funny if you read the third book. But let's talk about kind of the overarching premise, just to recap in case you haven't seen my other videos about the other two books, and no worries, no worries if you haven't. So, the Legendborn series, let's talk about it. Our main character, her name is Bree. She is a black teenage girl, and she goes to UNC Chapel Hill University for early college classes, and she thinks that's the extent of her stress until she witnesses a monster attack on campus. Oh no. And then there are a couple of students who go to fight this monster, and then those students cast a spell on the other witnesses there to make the witnesses forget. Bree, though, remembers, and she's not supposed to, so she keeps that hidden. But the more she investigates what's going on with who are these students, why are there monsters, and all that, the more she discovers that there is a secret society composed of Legendborn, and these are the descendants of King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table. So we've got Arthurian lore mixed up in here, ooh, and some magic too. We've got magic as well, lots of magic. And the special thing about the Legendborn is that the Knights of the Round Table and Arthur himself can essentially live on through their descendants. The Round Table can live through their descendants by kind of waking up their powers in their descendants to fight against these monsters. So, the more serious the monster fighting becomes, the more knights who are awakened, going from going in a specific order, with King Arthur being awakened last, and he's only awakened whenever things get really serious in this conflict between the Legendborn and the monsters. So, Bree, our main character, is kind of outside of this society, but she, for one reason or another, she realizes that her mother's recent death, the Legendborn might know how that happened. Like, there might be something more to it than what meets the eye. And so she joins the society, trains to become one of them, in order to discover more about her mother's death, to see if there's something more to it than what she was told. So. That's where Bree starts the series. That's the first book. She goes into this society. And keep in mind, this is a very white, affluent, and bigoted society. She is a black girl. And so she disrupts things just by being there. And, yeah. So that has to do with a lot of the conflict of the first book. There's also romantic tensions that happen between her and the guy who kinda introduces her to the society. So, yeah, that's where it starts. And then book 2, again, I'm not gonna go into, spoiler on that too much, but book 2 is kinda after Bree realizes she has more to do with the conflict, she's more involved with it, based on her family history and, just awakened magic that she can do, all that fun stuff. She realizes she's gotta get stronger if she wants to stand a chance of having any control over her future. And of just being able to protect her friends, because right now, her friends are the more experienced ones, and so she's relying on them quite a bit to protect her, but she wants to learn to protect herself. Book 3. That's where she's at. She's going, I'm determined to do anything to be able to take control of my life, my powers, my abilities. And so, Bree decides to kind of isolate herself from her friends, and she makes a deal with a really, really powerful figure. In fact, I think, let's see, can I say who it is? What am I going to call them? Let's just say a demon. A really powerful demon. She makes a deal with a demon. And this demon agrees to train her because it's in the demon's best interests for Bree to get stronger. I won't say why, but they have a deal going on where the demon goes, okay, I will train you. You will harness your power. You will get stronger. And in return, you'll do something or other for me. I'm not going to say what. And, yeah, so that happens, and it comes with a cost. It comes with a cost that Bree did not see coming. But it results in her being even more isolated from her friends. Meanwhile, her friends are off doing their own stuff, because this book is, for the first time, not just following Bree's perspective like in the first 2 books. It's following a lot of perspectives. It's multi-POV. It switches the point of view from chapter to chapter. And I quite liked that. It kept things interesting and it kept things moving. As we got to see more of what was going on with the other characters, their lives, while Bree is training. So, Bree isn't the only one getting stronger. Everyone is leveling up. They're all determined. Now that the tensions of the conflict are really high, all of her friends are looking to get stronger in one way or another, and they start to realize, oh no, our getting stronger can have consequences, especially as they get more towards reuniting, because everybody's off kind of doing their own thing, and that is devastating for reasons that I won't get into, but it just, I feel so much that I want these characters to be happy, and I want them to be together, both platonically and romantically, because also to mention, there's romantic tension that's not just going on between 2 people, but 3. It's, I guess you could call it a love triangle, except I feel like with most love triangles, it feels like one character is trying to decide between 2 others. This feels a little more like the possibility of polyamory, though. I don't think the 2 guys would actually be able to mend the toxicity that they've gone through enough to be in a romantic relationship, even though they have a very strong bond. But Bree with the 2 guys, she could be a hinge in a polyamorous relationship. I could see that. And honestly, that's really where I'm hoping it goes. But we don't know. We don't know because there are so many things that are going on, so many consequences of oaths being broken and magic spells and things that are complicating their relationships. And the tension is so good. And with each book ending, the stakes get higher and higher. Emotional and in terms of the physical complicated conflict that's going on. So it's a lot and it's all so good. It's so good. I loved the character growth in this book, not just with like the leveling up the powers, but also the way people were communicating, and even there was one character that I didn't think was going to ever, like, change or become a friend. Like, I thought we were gonna be just straight up enemies that kinda, sorta can work together. But then they became friends, and I was super happy about that. That was really neat, seeing that just in one book, starting from an enemy to becoming a ride or die kind of friend, and I loved that. I feel like I don't see enough friendships like that in written media, and that was so cool to see it in, like, one book. And just, yeah, I think the relationships are really what's making me feel so much emotion. So much emotion is in me because of these relationships. And I just want them all to be happy and to survive too. Because of course there's life or death stakes going on. The monsters are hunting them, and they're not all on a united front to fight the monsters. There's complications going on. And I love that part of the complications have to do with kinda breaking down history in a way, and family ancestry, because we have, you know, the Arthurian descendants. That's one aspect. But then, as part of the expanded world building, there's also a world of, like, magic and magic users who are outside of this secret society of, like, the Arthurian descendants, and they use magic differently. And, like, the relationship of people with magic is different depending on how you practice it, and kind of the culture that you grow up in practicing magic, like, with those other people. And it also very, very strongly ties to colonialism versus anti-colonialism, as well as tying in race as well. Because I mentioned earlier, Bree is black. The Arthurian secret society is very white. But, like, they're not the only ones using magic. There's plenty of black people who use magic, but they use it differently. They have a different relationship to it. It is less colonial and more of a exchange between, like, ancestors you honor. And I think that's super cool that there are different ways of magic, and it ties into the very real themes of how people today practice different ways of thinking about history and thinking about your family, and your lineage, your ancestry. So there's a lot to that in this book series, and I love it. Very much showing how, like, history and your family's decisions going from generation to generation really affect you without you necessarily even knowing. And it affects the present, and it'll affect the future. Your decisions impact the future, and it's just so much that's so cool about this book series. I could go on, and this is just me talking vaguely about it without talking about the specific plot points. But let's see if I can get, like, a little bit more specific. Actually, I lied, I'm sorry. Or I fibbed. Maybe that's a better way of putting it. I just looked at my notes and I thought I would have more specific things to say, but I don't. Even my notes are pretty general about what I wanted to point out, and I pointed out almost everything, almost, that I had intended to point out. Let me bring up the rest. Just to clarify, as with the representation, as with the first two books, there are characters of different races. Bree is a black teen girl. and the Legend-Born Society is mostly affluent, white, bigoted, and so that kind of highlights a lot of, like, microaggressions and Bree dealing with racist structures. So there's that, and there's also, you know, like, a lot of Bree finding a, what's a good word? Finding community with black people who are using magic in a different way, you know? So, there are also, characters who are queer, so I love that. For the first book, I feel like I didn't pick up on a lot of them. The second and third book bring them in more, though. And so, there's a non-binary character, at least one, and there's queer characters. So, my particular favorite is a trans character who came in this book. Oh, she's so great. But yeah. So, yeah. Then, as for any other notes I wanted to say, I think just this book was such a wild ride. There was so much tension. I had so much fun, theorizing about what would come next, especially because due to, like, the POV, the multiple points of view in this book, the audience or the reader knows more than the characters do. So it was fun kind of trying to guess what was going on without the characters knowing. So, like, oh, two characters crossing paths without them necessarily knowing that that was what was happening, that kind of thing. So that was super fun, super fun. Then the last page had such a revelation that was foreshadowed in the previous two books, but it only just now dropped, and I am here for it. I am looking forward to seeing where it goes, because I think it balances out a certain power dynamic that was kind of a little off, and now it makes pretty much a lot of the characters on the same sort of level of dependency on each other, and a little bit of, like, control exerted over each other as well. Because the oaths that they take, the magical oaths they take, have consequences, and so now, with the revelation of what happened on the final page of this book, I feel like the ground has become more even between certain characters, and I'm super interested in seeing what comes next. I just really, really hope, though, that they can get along and be happy by the end of it, because right now the only thing that is keeping me sane about reading that last page is having a headcanon where I, like, you know, imagine that right after that last page, they all make up and they're happy, and it's just happy ever after at that point on, you know? Like, no, there's no problems here. No, none of that. We're all okay together. We're all happy. Everything is fixed and resolved. There's no tension. There's no problem. Unfortunately, though, there is many, many problem. There is so much problem. So, forgive my goofy grammar and singular plural usage, but I think my brain has been fried in a very good way by the ending of this book. And so, I had a lot of fun reading it, and I think, yeah, I'm kind of shouting from the rooftops about, like, trying to encourage other people to read this series too, even though I do want to warn that the endings of each book get progressively more making you feel this emotional, and I'm really looking forward to see where book 4 goes, but it is not released yet, so just know that you're getting into this if you decide to take on the series now. I will say, though, generally just like supporting an author before the series is finished is ideal, so that they can continue the series, especially when they're traditionally publishing, because that if you buy the book as it's getting published, then the publisher goes, oh, okay, so people like this book, let's keep putting it out, and not cut the series short. So if we want to see the art at its best, and if we want to have all the books completed in a way that feels satisfying, then we gotta support Tracy Deonn in publishing these books. So, yeah, so I think just like check it out from your library, or you can just buy the first 3 books and let them sit on your shelves until book 4 comes out, whatever you think you emotionally can handle, you know? So, yeah. I'm super happy because it's been a little while since I've gotten this emotionally invested in a series. Yeah. And I think, yes, it is one of my favorites now. So, yeah. I get the hype. I'm so glad I decided to read it. I'm so glad I decided to read it. So. If you haven't read The Legendborn Cycle, this is it so far. I've talked about the first 3 books, and there is a 4th one that is not yet out. So yeah, it's got magic, it's got romantic tension, it's got oaths, and they have consequences, and relationships and friendships and family and ancestry and history and lots and lots of stuff. Lots of good stuff to read. So, yeah. Alright. That's it. That's all I have to say for now, I think. What am I gonna do now? What am I gonna do now without a 4th book? Yeah. Alright. Thank you so much for listening. You are an awesome listener. And I hope that wherever you go next, whatever you do next, that it is fun and or relaxing and or worthwhile to you. And ideally all three.